Hey everybody, Jabman025 here. Today I'm looking at my fourth perfect grade, the Strike Freedom Gundam from the series Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. Time to do some defending. If you got that reference, you've been on my channel for a long time. Thank you very much. Now, a lot of people have been asking when I'm going to review this. I showed off the box a long time ago. Time to review it. Let's see what we got. Now, open up the box. We got plates upon plates upon plates upon plates upon plates upon plates. And a lot of them are doubled up, a lot, 2 A plates, 2 B plates, 2 C plates, 2 D plates, that kind of thing. And when you first look at it, you're like, okay, I got 2 different kinds of gold. We got the ugly gold, which we've seen on a dozen different high grades and real grades. And we've got the fancy gold. This fancy gold reminds me of the Hyakushiki 2.0. In reality, we have 3 golds, which I'll show you more on that in a little bit. But we got lots of gold going here. Now, we also got 2 manuals, not unlike the Strike Perfect Grade. We have a black and white, or rather blue and white manual. That's for all the assembly. This has all the instructions to assemble, the instructions to transform the wings. You get the idea. Also, we have a color manual. This is entirely in Japanese, so if you don't speak Japanese, you just get to look at the pretty pictures. It has pictures of the kit, pictures from the anime, the lineage of the Strike Freedom, all the suits involved, and the decal sheet is on this page, or the decal instructions, rather, for the decal sheet. And here's what I was talking about, the 3 different golds. We got the foot here, got some chrome piping, which I'm always in favor of. That looks nice. And we flip it over and we see the bottom. We have a dark fancy gold and a light fancy gold. It's much more of a yellow color on one, much more of a deep gold on the other. And, of course, the ugly gold. Also on this kit, it used the 2 kinds of polycaps that I see later in Master Grades, which I'm assuming came from the ideas thought up on this kit and kits before it. We have a hard and a soft. And this borrows a lot from the Strike Perfect Grade, which shouldn't shock you. Strike Freedom. So if you built the Strike Gundam, a lot of this will seem familiar. And you can see here on the frame of the leg, the bottom part is almost entirely that ugly gold, while the top is almost entirely fancy golds. This is because when the leg moves, parts open up and you can see the top part of the leg. Bottom part of the leg you can't really see that much of. They do have some armor parts that peek through, but not really. I'll show you what I mean. Slap on all the armor, and you see these gold pieces on the side. It looks like armor or the inner frame popping through. It's not. You put those pieces on top of the armor, just give the illusion that it's coming from the inside. It's really not. It's just another layer on top of the armor. But it does a good job at that illusion. Now, moving the whole thing, like I said, the bottom part, nothing really changes all that much, but the knee pops all the way up to the top. The thigh parts slide apart. Even like here on the foot, that little blue section on the front of it, that moves forward and then moves back as the foot goes down. So there's a lot moving on this thing. But like I said, if this looks familiar and you've built the Strike Perfect Grade, yeah, there's a lot going on here. Here's something interesting for the rifles, the rail guns that go on the side. Here's the part that's going to flip around so they'll be on the back so you can store the guns on the side for gunslinger mode if you want. And these work shockingly well. Variable hips, you can move the hip section down and up, and there's a little piece here that will lock it into place as you see fit. A little awkward to do when it's actually all built, though. And here you see the bottom half of the frame, or bottom half of the kit, rather. And we have the rail guns that are on a gear system, so as you move one up, you also move the other. And that looks real nice. And we can extend the gun barrel here with 2 hands. There we go. And so it's all extended out. It looks nice. And push it right back down again. No problem. Clicks into place and push the gun back together. To put it on the back, you just slide the back skirt armor down and move the guns to the back. On the Master Grade, this was a royal pain in the butt to do. Not here. No problems whatsoever. Hasta lasagna, don't get any on you. Slide it to the back. Done. You can see the little connections there for the guns later. On the torso, you can see there's some silver pistons on the side, and for the most part, it uses that ugly gold. Again, it's all going to be covered up. You'll never see it anyway. And there you see the pilot inside. You can just slide that up, and it slides the pilot. Unlike a lot of Gundams, the pilot sits directly below the head. Most times it's in the torso. Now with the Freedom and the Strike Freedom, the pilot seat is directly underneath the head. And here we can see the connection on the back, a giant monster polycap. It's going to connect the backpack to this thing. Slap that armor on, and you put the head mold on. This is one of the most perfectly designed Gundam heads I have ever seen. Absolutely perfect. In scale, in look, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. You can take off this section here, and there is a LED in there. This LED is provided with the kit. They do not provide the batteries, so you got to get those. This is the same LED you've been putting in Gundam Exias and Masquerades for a long time. It's yellow. The switch is on the top, so you can just switch it off without having to take out anything else other than that top piece. And vaguely see it coming out the back camera, but you can really see it coming out of the front camera and, of course, the eyes. And it does look very nice. The hands are kind of interesting on this thing in that they don't get built like normal hands. You take them apart piece by piece off this one part tree. And the fingers are segmented into 3 different parts. The way this works is you take that part there and you put it in between those parts there. This has, I guess they did this because they wanted to use the fancy gold and they didn't want to use a polycap type material which wouldn't take the gold well. This works great. It gives you a very strong hand. Anyone having flashbacks to the Strike Gundam, perfect grade, here you go. The arm is carbon copy. One problem, though, since they're using the Strike Gundam frame and parts, if they wanted to put the fancy shiny gold on it, the nubs are going to stand out real bad because it was never made to be plated in fancy gold. Like here on the elbow, that's a hideous nub. There aren't a lot of them on this kit, but when they're bad, they're bad. But there's only, can think of 2 or 3 really bad ones. One of them being there on the elbow. They give you a giant action stand. This connects into the backpack, onto the lower piece. And like I said, I showed that giant polycap earlier. That's to connect the backpack to the Gundam, so he's never coming off. He does get him off the ground, only just so. And here is the connection for the wings. A lot of people warn me, watch this connection. This is not a good connection. It's going to break. This has plastic and a polycap inside. We'll get to that when we get to that. Now, the funnels. This is interesting. They have a spring they provide for you, and these parts inside. This allows the funnel to pop out on the wing section, which we'll get to in a bit. This is tricky, but not impossible. Because everything's going to line up and just so the groove. Put it together, and you got some stickers to put on there. You got a really neat gold, textured gold sticker that goes on here. 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side, so 8 total. Now you got to do that 8 more times. Or 7 more times, correct me. Pardon me, rather. Now, for the actual wing itself. This is really complicated. There's lots of sliding parts, lots of pieces hooking into other pieces, and lots of things that have to fit just so. If you follow the manual religiously, this is fairly easy. If you start getting ahead of yourself, which I am known to do, and start cutting off pieces before you need them in exactly the right order, it can get a little complicated. You might put the wrong piece there, and you might switch this there. Because you're doing it so many times over, for the 8 wings, you're doing it over and over and over again, you tend to get in a pattern. Okay, now I need this piece, this piece, this piece. You do, but you need them in an exact certain order. You need this number here, this number here. Even though this number and this number may look exactly the same, they may not be. So take your time. Now, put them in the connections. I didn't have any problems. People said, oh, the connection's going to break, the connection's going to break. No problems here. I said, okay, be careful when you move the wings. Okay, I was really careful. They clicked and spread apart as I moved them, kind of. This one piece here kind of at the bottom wants to drop, especially when I put the funnels on. But I had no braking issues. It's holding up just fine. I let it sit for 48 hours, no problems. Put the funnels on. Here's the only problem with the funnels. You put them on and they stay there, but they're on a hair trigger because of that spring. So if you bump it, or if you accidentally touch it when you didn't mean to, pop, comes out. Now, here's a 16-inch pizza pan. You can see the diameter on this beast. It's going to take up some space. And that's before I've extended the funnels, like this. So that makes it a little bit longer. So yeah, it's just, you can see it's barely fitting in my box now. But here's what I meant. When you pull out the wings and you push them back in, you'll hear a click and it'll stay there. However, they're on a hair trigger. So if you bump it accidentally, pop, there it goes. So, does it work? Yeah. Does it work perfectly? No. And you can see he does look really cool with this. I was honestly didn't think I'd like this look, but now that I see it, it's actually pretty cool. Now, decals. Big old giant monster sheet of decals. When I first looked at them, I thought, okay, water slide, cool. They're not. They're sticker. The whole thing is sticker. What I suggest you do is take the Gundam off and just leave the backpack on there. It makes it easier to work with the Gundam and then do the backpack if you want. Now, I put on the decals, but I didn't put anywhere near what they were requested. Here's why. Decals look really good on the white parts. You can't tell the lines there. You can't even see it unless you're looking super duper carefully. However, when you put them on the navy parts, like here on the front chest, it doesn't look so good. So, and I figured the backpack is so freaking busy already, it didn't need any decals, so I just skipped the backpack entirely. I didn't even do all the body ones just because there are certain places that just don't look good. Now, poseability. This is actually pretty good in poseability. You could put this thing on the ground if you wanted to. The posing options would be limited, but I think it would stand up just fine. As big and crazy as the backpack is, it isn't that heavy. But, like I said, it'd be a little awkward to pose with, but far from impossible. Like I said, I put them in the air, guns out. The accessories, first we got the double beam rifle giant sniper gun of doom here. And it can hold it. Like I said, those hands are plenty strong enough. That way they built the hands made these super duper strong. The guns are a little awkward though. Difficult to pose with, but far from impossible. And you can see the gun is friggin' huge. Separate the guns, of course. One trick I found is the handles do not want to stay in there. So you flip them up and they're supposed to stay in there. And they kind of don't. So a little bit of sticky tack in there held that up no problem. See, one of the guns extends, which we then collapse, have them hold them. Yeah, it holds it all right. One of the guns has a loose handle again. I think they over-designed the handles on these things. They had some fancy switch stuff. Just put them on a polycap and move them up. Or put them on a swivel and move them up. None of this fancy sliding stuff. Now we got the guns on the sides there. Very difficult to get in and out of, but once they're in, they're good. Move the rail guns to the back. It kind of gets in the way with the action stand, but you can work around it. And now, the beam saber. Yeah. Double-bladed giant bead saber. Blood red blades. Not even a hint of pink. And yeah, it's as big as my box. Yeah. And a beam shield, which can be hooked onto either arm. Into that little red section, there's a piece that pops out. Doesn't hold it great, but it holds it okay. It's not like it drops it every time, but if you're fiddling with it, it may drop it. Turn on the headlight, or the eyes, or whatever you want to call it. Glowing eyes. Whether you want to do shields or guns, either way looks good, but not great. It doesn't really have trouble holding anything. Like I said, the handles on the guns are not the best. Comparison, here it is next to the RX-78 Origin. And next to the Victory, just because I love putting the Victory next to things. And who wants some more gratuitous size comparison? That's right, you do. Here's the shelf I put them on. On the far left, you see the Strike Freedom. On the far right, you see the Strike. And in between, we've got a couple of master grades, the EXS, Double Zeta, Psycho Zaku. You can see, like, Strike Gundam's a big kit. Strike Freedom's just huge with those giant wings. See how much space he takes up. Massive. Final thoughts on this kit. I'm going to give this a thumbs up because it does everything it's supposed to. It doesn't do a lot great. It does a lot good or okay. The wings do what they're supposed to. They separate and they give you a neat look, but they're not perfect. The guns can be held up and you can do different poses, but they're not perfect. The beam shield connection is good, but it drops occasionally. But it's not perfect. The Poseability is very good, and it gives you the action stand, but the strike's better. Is this, of the 4 master grades I built, this is probably my least favorite. Is this a terrible kit? Should you avoid at all costs? No. I didn't have any problems with the wings on the back. People saying they're going to break, they're going to break. No real problems here. This may have been an improvement they've done on later versions of this model, but I didn't have any problem with that. That being said, is this the best perfect grade I've ever built? No. In fact, it's probably the worst. But it's still a good kit. So it's going to get a thumbs up from me. But if you want my recommendation of the best perfect grade I built so far, it's probably the Strike. Every perfect grade tries to have a gimmick. The Strike had the accessory pack you could add on, and the cheap price and the light-up eyes. The XC had the lightning edition. The Unicorn had the light-up psycho frame. This tried to do it with the wings. I don't think that was the best choice. I think what they should have done is gone full beam span, give us a stand that can hold up all the funnels around it in a neat pattern, and then give us beam effect parts up the wazoo. Just go nuts with it, which they did with the Freedom 2.0. I think if they were completely honest, they'd say, yeah, we should have done that with this kit too. Well, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you found it informative. I know a lot of you were waiting for this for a long time. I teased the next perfect grade a long time ago, and people have been asking, come on, where's the Strike Freedom? Where is it? Well, finally got it done. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please stay tuned for more. I always got more reviews coming, and I will see you guys next time. Oh, and one more thing. I forgot one more accessory that I did not mention before. We have a tiny little unpainted figurine of our Lord and Savior, Kira Jesus Yamato. Can I get an amen?